Hi, friends. This was the reading I was originally recording for you yesterday before the message swung into disrupt the whole tarot industry as a whole. Oops-a-daisy. But I kept my first deck pull here undisturbed, and I'm returning to it now, so here we are, ready for this reading again. I already know that it's going to be a super strong message. It's going to be about dopamine. It just keeps coming through. It's very strong here. If you didn't check out yesterday's reading, it did touch on dopamine as well. I'll leave a link, a little pop-up right now on the right corner of this video to check that out. Maybe hear this one out first, but that one kind of intertwines with today's message. I think they're both pretty disruptive. A few of you asked me if the title changed, and yeah, I did change the title of that message a couple of times because I truthfully had no idea what to call it. Like, it was definitely a lot of information from Spirit, and so I went back and forth with a lot of different titles for that one. At one point, I just wanted to call it like the video that pisses everybody off on the internet, but I went with a different one at the end of the day. So check that one out. But this one in particular, this reading today, is going to focus on screen time. It really is going to be narrowing down on phone usage, changes in that you may be experiencing, computer usage, digital usage. I don't know if that's something that's actively been on your mind lately, or you've been trying to control it, perhaps having bad feelings about it. A lot of different mixed emotions are coming through. Something about you and this thing is very important today. There's something connected between this urge, these spikes, and this decrease of usage that directly ties to what you're working on a very deep subconscious level. I almost see screen time here as a reflection of something very specific. So this may be where I lose a lot of you because I think this reading is just like ridiculously specific. I don't know if everyone's going to be overtly aware of their screen time usage or thinking about it or it been on their mind. So this is for those who have noticed their screen time, whether it be shifting up, down, weirdly steady. There's something deeper underneath it. And I feel this collective senses that there's a change for a reason or that there's something deeper. There's really just an acute awareness about this thing. Is the best way I could describe this feeling. This message is not going to guilt trip you or give you helpful how-to tips. I don't see this being a practical step-by-step message or anything like that. I see this kind of being an encouraging or affirming message. It's not going to shame you if you're worried about that. So there's different parts of the screen time pattern to be aware of in this message, and it directly ties to what looks like soul purpose and creation and manifesting your desires. So really, again, if you have any awareness around your usage, your screen time, your digital consumption, especially lately, this is your reading. Those who stuck with me and are here still are obviously either very in control of their phone usage and very aware, or perhaps currently struggling in their screen time usage. But Spirit wants me to explain what looks like a disruptive thing here about dopamine before I talk about your specific life path and the connection point here. Dopamine is the chemical in our brain that keeps us addicted to our phones, right? I think a lot of us already know that. Some view this chemical as a reward chemical, but really what it is it's an anticipation chemical. And that anticipation is usually controlled by different parts of our society purposefully. And this is exactly where Spirit cut me off yesterday when I was doing this reading, if you couldn't tell, because this is the direct tie-in between the message that I couldn't figure out a title for yesterday. But anticipation is what keeps us as a society in this cycle of dopamine. This is why we scroll endlessly, why apps have literally no end. They just keep scrolling and it's the next best thing that's coming. And so we keep coming back to that thing. That anticipation is the driving force. So it's important you know that society purposefully hijacks this dopamine cycle. It's important you know from what I can see here is it's not like a replenishable system necessarily. It actually goes into deficits. The more we are hijacked or consuming media that keeps us on that anticipation loop instead of ends the loop with a reward. That means that society directly doesn't want us to stop anticipating. They know how to hijack dopamine, right? They're hijacking it by providing anticipation without the reward, okay? And I'm saying all of this so you all understand that this isn't something that's small. It's directly tied to something. It's directly tied to our ability to motivate ourselves, to be able to create. And it's important you know this because our motivation to create is our life force energy. It is very, very important to our soul's path, our purpose. And so it's very much important that you understand that this dopamine hijack system isn't just a silly habit, isn't just something silly that we do. It's much more important than you think. And society understands that. The people that create these apps understand that. Our life force energy is all that is. It is why we are here. We are here to create. It is the most important aspect of our being. And that's why it's intentionally muted by structures in place currently that we are around all the time. Think porn, social media, endless apps, tarot readers that keep dragging you on anticipation of hope that never comes. This anticipation, really just think of a dopamine cycle as anticipation rather than the reward. And you can see my point here. So now that I got all that out of the way, if you're still here, I think the most important part of this message today, before I get into your specifics, is to recognize how important dopamine actually is and why it's devalued and why it's underestimated as like this harmless thing that doesn't reflect our life force energy, that doesn't impact it. Society very much sees the direct connection between life force, and they very much know how to contain it. It's not that it's random, it's very purposeful. And so the reason everything is suppressing this exact chemical is because if they didn't, then there would be a society of creators instead of consumers. And so that's really dangerous to how society functions. We don't want creators. We want consumers. We want to profit. So it only functions if people are asleep and they're in that dopamine deficit. They're in that anticipation cycle. But it's more important not about the cycle as a whole. It's more important that the people that are in the cycle are not aware of the importance of dopamine. They kind of like brush it off as, it's just a silly little habit that I have to pass time or have joy. And that's where this message, I think, is coming in and emphasizing. This message isn't about completely eradicating this habit or all forms of pleasure or anticipation in life. In fact, those are very necessary things. We need anticipation to have reward. I think this message is instead calling you to see a very specific connection between a mirror that can help you create. So again, this isn't a message that's calling you to go crazy and delete all your apps and never have sweets again, never have pleasure. It's much more a message about something you were called to do in this lifetime and how it's being mirrored to you about when to specifically take action for it and when to not. If I still have some of you here, I'm very surprised, just because, like I said, this message is ridiculously specific. This last section is going to be about when to take action and when to just anticipate the action, which are both critically important to your life path from what I see here. This change in your usage as of currently, whether it be an awareness to it, whether it be an increase, a decrease, something's different here. No matter what it is for you, the message is very similar today for all groups. And it is that direction between your creation cycles and your anticipation cycles. I'm going to leave the usage phases in the descriptions for the specifics for you to check out. If you're new here, I always leave novels and dissertations in my descriptions. This is because I channel much different than the norm. And so if I didn't do that, then it would be chaos in these readings and we would never get to an end. So I have to do that. And also people seem to really like it. So check out the description if things are still unclear after this reading. But what I see from the three main phases here that you'll experience throughout your lifetime is they all connect to points of action and points of inaction in terms of like your main purpose here, your main life force, how you were meant to create. And you may feel you get stuck in high usage or high screen time, high dopamine reward loops that are stuck in anticipation, and you may feel you're completely failing or somehow being trapped or manipulated and can't get out of that cycle. And while I don't think this message is like telling you to keep feeding bad habits and stay in that dopamine deficit, I do think it is saying that it takes a full cycle of over-consuming and dopamine deficit to also have the action cycles where you're in a neutral and balanced state. It takes all of the phases to fully create and iterate on creation. So you'll go through phases where you kind of like delete all apps and you make a change, and then you'll go through phases where you overconsume and you get stuck in that deficit. And then you'll go through phases where you feel balanced. And those are all really important parts of the process that Spirit wants to highlight very specifically for you today. And I think what's important here is it's not giving you a to-do. It's not saying, okay, change where you are right now. You should have shame about this thing that you're in, or you should be different. It's more so a message of like saying, be aware of which phase you're in and have a little hint of acceptance around that phase, have a little bit of hint of awareness. And I think awareness here looks like fully embracing the fact that society purposely controls this thing. Awareness looks like not underestimating the power of dopamine, not saying, oh, it's harmless. Oh, it's just this little thing I do. La la la. It's more so really holding the weight of dopamine in the way that society does. Like they're emphasizing it, right? It's in every aspect of our life for a reason. And so that awareness, that emphasis is being pushed on you today in this message. It is saying, hold it as important as society holds it. Don't diminish it. Don't say it doesn't have value, because it does. But not in a way where you're holding it and saying, I must change it. I should have shame. No, it's saying just have awareness for this thing. See how powerful it is. See each cycle for what it is and accept it. And I think that the message is really kind of amazing in that way, because it's not saying to go change and have shame. It's saying to have full awareness. It's saying recognize each stage you're in, each phase you're in, and act accordingly to that phase, knowing that it's only temporary and that the next one will come. And I think having mindfulness of the next phase is the power here, right? So you can start harnessing your creation cycle almost in a really effective way that you maybe couldn't before, when you were trapped in, this is going to last indefinitely, or I need to control this. So it's affirming that it's okay to be caught up in high usage for temporary amounts of time. It's saying that there is a distinct purpose to the dopamine deficit that comes with overconsumption, and that it's put there for a reason. You wouldn't be able to just be born into this life, theoretically, and be uninterested in dopamine. That is genuinely impossible with the way society is structured. And the dopamine traps and the manipulations we're not a victim to. Instead, they are like purposely put here to help push us towards creation. And if we could like reframe to look at that, I think that that's where we get our power back from helplessness about these structures in place. They're not here to stop you indefinitely from creating or take all your time. They're kind of helping you in this odd, weird way if you look at all the phases together rather than individually. So Spirit's now showing me like, I guess a metaphor to use here, or like a visualization, is think of ocean waves with each phase. Say the ocean waves have a goal of like reaching the furthest part of the beach, and where the giant pebbles are, they want to erode that into sand. And that's the ocean waves' goals. That's their lifetime. That's their purpose. That's their creation. And so tide, moon phases, wind, all of those external things are like factors that push and pull the waves into different levels of power. Sometimes it's going to have no power at all. Sometimes it's going to fully disrupt all the pebbles. Over time, if you look at it as a whole, the waves are still going to erode those big pebbles no matter what. They will create that impact. And it kind of needs those days of rest, those days of anticipation, to have those days where they just completely crush it and destroy everything. So the pullback energy is like what you're doing here in your heavy usage cycle, in your overconsumption cycle, in your anticipation cycle. Even if it seems like it doesn't have a purpose, it does. You need anticipation in order to have reward. They both go hand in hand, yin and yang. you're kind of like stepping backwards before you start a sprint. You're getting that momentum before you push forward. And so the message today is that your phone usage and your screen time are not random. They are a direct portal or mirror into where you are in your creation cycle. And it's very clear here. So you are not helplessly being manipulated. You are not losing momentum over time. And there's nothing you need to do necessarily. In fact, these manipulations, these obstacles are purposefully placed to help spike your creative drive during the creation phases. And your soul path is very specific, as you are kind of like destined, from what I see here, to create something. Something you create will be very important to the well-being of others. It's directly tied to some sort of welfare for everyone. And so the reason you may struggle with extremes of these phases isn't because like you lack discipline or need to get something under control more. I think these extreme fluctuations are kind of showing you that you have all this like creative power and it's spilling over and fluctuating more extreme because you have a higher capacity to create. And it looks probably a little bit more extreme on the outside if you just focus in on those habits rather than the full arc of the phases. So the important part here is to not do anything extreme, but to really have awareness on dopamine and its tie to your life force and your creation path. Just seeing the direct, powerful connection between dopamine and your purpose is enough. At this point, I have re-recorded a different outro at least 555 times. I don't know what makes it feel so sacred to me. I think I must just really not want to say goodbye. Let me know your thoughts about an outro. Is it helpful? Is it too formal? Is it awkward? Do you hate it? Do you love it? I'll take all the feedback I can get. But here is take 556. This part is for newbies. If you're new here, I am inclined to explain to you how I can best channel and serve you. The comment section for me is very sacred. The honoring I do for you is through the quality of my readings that comes from energetic nudges that live within your communication or your messages to me. This could be in the comment section. You can email me, whatever it is. Think of these little notes or nudges of communication towards me as how I pick up on your energy more efficiently for better future reads. Now, this doesn't mean you have to write your whole life story in the comments for everyone to see, especially if that makes you uncomfortable. This is more about how I sort through energies and pick up on yours if it's your time to hear it specifically. These can be very simple nudges, nothing crazy is required, but everything is welcome, of course. I also want to address my comment section really quick, as I do have a rather unique approach that other readers don't have, so you may not have seen it before. I don't cherry pick responses. I don't like some people's comments and not others. I don't respond to some and not all. I have a very neutral method of responses and feedback here. That is how I honor everyone and not just a few here and there. This doesn't mean I'm ignoring you. This doesn't mean I'm not reading it. I'm actually probably rereading it over and over again like a crazy person. Just have that mental picture of me, if you will. So the real honoring I do is the detail of my readings, and I hope that it's demonstrated how seriously I take your energy and how much I protect it through this. I love you all so much, and I am forever grateful that I get to be here in this way with you. So cheers, friends.